The story begins in New York in 2007. Students are discussing what they want to be when they grow up, and when it's Reed Richards' turn, he says he wants to be the first person in human history to teleport himself, but his teacher tells him to rewrite his report until he finds a real career. Then it's Ben's turn, and as he gets up, he notices Reed's notebook. In the evening, we see Ben's older brother Jimmy saying clobbering time and hitting his brother before their mother separates them. Ben then hears the dogs barking and goes to check. He sees Reed, who says he's looking for a power converter for his work. Ben agrees to give him what he needs on the condition that he sees it too, and they go to Reed's garage. He makes the final adjustments and turns the machine on, causing a power surge in the house. His parents are home at the same time, realizing he's done something else. After the machine starts and glows, the power goes out at all the nearby houses. We see that the toy car Reed placed in the machine has disappeared, replaced by rocks. We go to 7 years later. Reed and Ben are presenting their work called the Somatic Matter Shuttle at a science fair. They put a borrowed toy airplane into their equipment, turn it on, and it vanishes. They then press the button to bring it back, the backboard explodes, and the airplane returns slightly damaged and sandy. The exhibitor is angry at them, telling them that this isn't a magic show, they're disqualified. Then Dr. Franklin Storm and his daughter Sue Storm from the Baxter Foundation arrive, interested in their project and asking questions. They point out that they're working on the same project, but they haven't been able to bring back the object they sent to another dimension, like Reed and Ben just did. Reed says this isn't realistic, thinking they're just sending objects to another part of the planet and bringing them back. Sue says they found the same substance they found, but when they analyzed it, they found nothing. Dr. Franklin tells Reed and Ben that they want to give him full scholarships at the Baxter Foundation. We then see Reed and Ben walking down the street with suitcases toward the Baxter building. Reed gives his name to the receptionist, and they go to his room. Ben gives Reed a penknife, telling him it's a going-away gift, that Reed is now where he belongs. Reed reads the works of Baxter on the bulletin board as he walks down the hall. He then goes to the library and, after picking up a few books, sits down at Sue's table. He tries to strike up a conversation with her, but Sue responds with a less than enthusiastic tone and soon leaves. Dr. Franklin defends Reed and Victor Von Doom, who initiated the study on the other dimension, against Baxter Institute's facilities conservative supervisor Dr. Allen and the other members of the panel, saying that by making them work together, they can finalize their project and thus obtain new resources from other dimensions. Dr. Franklin goes to Victor's house and tells him that someone can finally develop and complete the work he started, dedicated 10 years to, and left unfinished. Victor says he doesn't trust the Foundation, but if Sue is involved, he'll come because he trusts her. Reed goes to the lab, marveling at its size, and begins working. Sue approaches him, looks at his work, and expresses surprise that he hasn't blown up the planet without a supervisor in his earlier work. She reveals that she is part of the team designing the suit to protect those who cross over to the other dimension. At that moment, they see Victor arrive.
Examining Reed's work, Victor tells Dr. Franklin that they are rudimentary and elementary. Meanwhile, Reed and Sue enter the room, and Franklin tells Reed that Victor is the one who initiated the Quantum Gate project. Victor is cold towards him and greets Sue instead. Sue shows Reed the footage they managed to retrieve from the drone they previously sent to the other dimension, but failed to retrieve. Franklin gives them a speech, telling them that by working together, they can achieve this project and even send themselves to the other dimension soon enough. Johnny Storm, who doesn't answer his father Franklin's call, arrives at a car race. His car stalls as he starts, but when he tries again, he joins the race, albeit late. There are 2 other cars, one of which fails to turn at the intersection and falls behind. Johnny changes lanes, trying to avoid the other cars on the street, waves goodbye to the other car he is racing with, and then passes it. He accelerates but pushes the engine to its limits, causing his car to explode, skidding across the road and hitting a pole. As Franklin escorts Johnny out of the hospital, he tells him that he's wasting his intelligence on such trivial matters, and that if he wants to get his car back from him, he'll have to earn it. Even though Johnny claims to have built the car from scratch with his own hands, we see him in the Baxter lab, having to accept his father's terms. Victor is unwelcome due to Johnny's sarcastic attitude and tells Franklin that they don't need any help, but Reed says he could use some help and calls him over, and they meet and start working together. We see the team working at full speed. Johnny is welding, Reed is back to his calculations, he needs to get used to working with Victor, and Sue is focused on developing the suits. They spend time together and continue their work. When Sue says it's good to see her brother here, Johnny tells her not to get used to it, he's only here to get his car back. We then see that the structure they've built, based on their intended model, is nearly complete. Ben is happy to see in Reed's message that their work is almost complete. Sue wakes up Reed and they start chit-chatting. We learn that she is originally from Kosovo and was adopted by Franklin. Seeing them in this state, Victor doesn't like it and calls Reed over, telling him they are being unprofessional. Reed tells him it's because they're done with the work, asks Sue to show him, and says he's going to sleep. Victor is absorbed in watching the equipment in action. Upon learning that the study has reached the final stage, Dr. Allen arrives at the lab with his team, greets the others, and begins to wait. They place a monkey as the first subject in the capsule, put on the goggles, and begin the countdown. The machine creates a wave that sends the monkey in the capsule to another dimension. After a short wait, they manage to receive visual signals from their instruments. Their first impressions predict that the planet in the images resembles Earth's state a billion years ago, which can answer the most important questions of the entire existence history. They observe that the monkey's vitality levels are intact. They initiate the retrieval process, put on the goggles, and wait for the countdown. The machine emits another glow, revealing the capsule's return and the monkey's health. The team is delighted. Allen approaches them and congratulates them, stating that they can now contact NASA and work with them on this project.
The team wasn't expecting this. Victor teases him and gives him the finger as Allen leaves. Franklin promises the others that he won't let this go. Victor invites the others to drink. They drink and have fun. Victor later tells Reed and Johnny that they don't know who built the Apollo spacecraft that went to the moon, but everyone knows who Neil Armstrong is. They talk about how they too will be forgotten, and Reed suggests the others activate the machine, go to the other side, and come back without anyone noticing. The others are hesitant at first, but eventually agree. He then calls his friend Ben and tells him they started all this at the beginning together and he won't do this without him. He meets him at the building entrance, takes him to the lab, shows him the machine, and introduces him to Johnny and Victor. Reed and Ben then suit up too and get ready. Each of them climbs into a capsule and closes the hatch. Meanwhile, Sue, who is working somewhere else in the building, is alerted. She immediately calls her father and heads to the lab. While they all pray that nothing bad will happen, the machine's countdown begins, a spherical field forms, and they experience a tremor and travel to the other dimension. Sue loses contact with them. They open the capsule's hatches and set foot on the planet they passed, holding its soil in their hands. Each of them looks around, talks about how they finally did it. Reed and Ben take the flag and stick it into the ground, seeing the energy wave coming. Victor tells them there's much more ahead and directs them there. When they reach a hill, they have to descend using ropes, but Johnny says he'll be waiting for them here and helps them down. They walk across the reactive soil, reaching the center of the energy emanation. Victor says he feels the energy with his hand and it physically reacts. Reed says his measuring device shows no expenditure, and surprised wants to show Ben. His friend tells them they need to get out of there quickly. Meanwhile, Victor thrusts his hand deeper into the energy, causing an energy explosion like a volcano erupting. They run straight back and begin climbing up with ropes. Johnny helps them from above, but Victor is caught in an explosion and hangs in the air. He tries to grab Reed's hand, begging them to pull him back, but the energy that explodes and splashes onto him melts both his clothes and the rope he's tied to, eventually knocking him down and pulling him in. Reed says they can't let him go, but the others bring him back to his senses. They run straight to the pods, only to find they can't make the return. Meanwhile, they ask Sue, who has managed to contact them, to manually override the re-entry. As she tries to do so, Ben's door opens, sending boulders flying at him. Johnny's capsule glass shatters, sending flames at him. When they manage to return with the pods, an energy wave spreads through the lab, throwing Sue to the ground and knocking out all power in the city. Reed wakes up and looks around. He sees Johnny burning in flames. Hearing Ben's voice, he tries to free his foot and drags himself toward his friend. Ben says he can't move. When Reed looks back, he sees his feet have stretched like rubber bands, and he faints. We see a helicopter fly into Area 57, which is classified. Reed, whose arms and legs are much longer than expected, is surrounded by doctors in protective suits. He asks them how his friends are, but gets no answer. When he gets angry and starts yelling, they give him a sedative and put him to sleep. Dr. Franklin repeatedly tells the soldiers interrogating him that even though he's the one in charge of this program, he wasn't there when this operation happened. He then tells them he wants to see his children. He first goes to see Sue and learns that her physical characteristics are normal, but that she appears to be on and off the spectrum of appearance.
When he goes to see his son, he sees him completely engulfed in flames. Johnny soon begins breathing faster, creating an explosion around him.
Reed awakens and finds no one beside him. Hearing Ben's cries for help from the vent, he stretches his arms and legs back to normal size, frees himself from the restraints, and enters the vent, drifting toward the sound. Upon arriving at Ben's location, he finds his body has completely turned to stone. Realizing he has escaped, the soldiers raise the alarm and search for him. Hearing this, Reed promises Ben he will resolve the situation, continues his drift, and manages to escape through the vent. Alan goes straight to Franklin and tells him they need to find Reed and that they need to work with the government on this. He then goes to Ben and tells him they'll help him with his treatment, but they need to receive his help as well. Ben agrees, walking toward the light with his petrified body. A year passes. In his presentation to the ranks, Alan recounts Ben's contributions and success in operations so far, explaining that they have provided the others with special suits that allow them to control their powers and projects images of each on the screen. He explains that these powers originate from a place they call Planet Zero, and that with the Quantum Gate 2 project, they can grant their entire army this power, achieving absolute power on their own planet too. While flying to the base, they watch through the window as Johnny blows up a test drone, and Alan calls him Subject Number 2. Johnny returns to base and extinguishes his flames. He learns he set a new record by reaching 2,000 meters in 6 seconds, even though he's still dissatisfied. He then approaches Sue, suspended in the air by the field she created, and tells her that he'll be sent on a mission just like Ben. Sue, however, resists, saying they came here not to be tools, but to regain their normal lives. Johnny prepares for the next test. Alan goes to see Ben with DC officials. We learn that Ben, Sue, and Johnny are cooperating with the government on the condition of finding a cure. Alan then takes them to the lab to meet with Franklin. They discuss the project's near completion, and the officers promise to give Alan what he needs, but they want more of their subjects to go into the field. Franklin approaches Sue and tells her they need Reed's help to finish the gate. Although his daughter is upset with Reed for abandoning them, Franklin convinces her, saying they have no other choice to find the cure. Sue goes to the officers and learns the information they previously found while following Reed. She then tries to find a pattern in the tracks left by her old friend. A young man bargains for a valve in a shop. After finishing his shopping, he changes his face and returns to his normal appearance. As he returns with his vehicle, we see that it is none other than Reed himself. Arriving at the abandoned house where he has been staying as a fugitive, he continues his investigation of his childhood friend, Ben. Sue, who has noticed his hacking into the system, finally manages to apprehend him. Alan goes straight to task Ben. Reed begins to run as soon as he sees the warning signal, but soldiers surround him. He knocks one of them down. His flexibility allows him to dodge the bullets and neutralize the others, but then he sees Ben arriving. Although he tells him that everything is his fault, he fails to convince his friend, and he is knocked unconscious by the second blow.
As they travel on the plane, Reed tells Ben he'll fix everything, but Ben says he's long since stopped believing his nonsense. Alan tells Ben he's done a good job as he arrives at the base. After a long time, Sue enters Reed's cell to see him. She tells him she's sorry she helped them find him, but that the gate needs to be built to find the cure. Soldiers come to take Reed. When Reed goes to look at the machine, he says they've done it ugly this time. Franklin arrives and says it's good to see him again. When Reed gets to the computer, he surprises the others by saying he only needs 10 minutes to fix a few mistakes they made. Franklin goes to talk to his son and tells him Reed is back and they can find the cure now, but Johnny says he'll keep doing what he's doing, that his father put him in this position in the first place. With the final preparations complete, they clear the area around the gate. When Johnny sees Reed, they embrace. The officers enter the capsule and teleport. The lab contacts them, checks their condition, and confirms everything is fine. The officers exit the capsule. Reed notes that the landscape has changed. The officers take out their equipment and begin their experiments. But at that very moment, they report that they have received a heat signature from somewhere nearby, and that it is moving closer to where they are. The officer tells the others that the signal came from a human being form, but it was coded with a foreign element. Then, to everyone's shock, Victor appears and tells them he knew they would come back. Seeing him injured, the officers help him. Alan tells them to abort the mission and bring him back.
When they return to the lab, Reed says he wants to talk to him, but Alan tells the soldiers to confine the others to their quarters and that no one can speak to Victor until he does. Reed's body is completely transformed, containing traces of the green energy from the other dimension. Alan, clad in a protective suit, approaches Victor. He tells him that it seems the environmental suit has fused with his body and that they will help him, but first demands that he reveal what he knows about that place. Victor says that he gained power from there, a power that people like Alan should never possess because they couldn't resist coming back. He unleashes the energy in his eyes, detonates the electrical devices in the adjacent room, and disables the other officers. Breaking free from his locks, he says Alan has already ruined this world and asks if he has his sights set on his own too. He squeezes Alan's body, causing him to explode. It's as if he can control his surroundings with only his thoughts. He shatters the room's wall. A code red alert is issued, and everyone is asked to evacuate the building. Victor walks down the corridor, dispatching those he encounters. The bullets fired at him are unable to penetrate his shield due to the energy wave. He easily kills a group of soldiers and continues on his way. Ben, observing what's happened around, walks up and asks Reed if he's going to run again, but he says no.
Johnny is walking through the flames when he hears a noise. He cautiously advances and throws a flame, but Sue dodges him at the last moment by emerging her shield. Johnny apologizes. Sue says she's okay and asks where their father is. Victor breaks into the lab's door. Franklin confronts him and demands he stop, but Victor tells him it's too late and he must go to his own world. He blocks Sue and Johnny by creating a field, eliminates Franklin, and heads towards the gate. Ben and Reed arrive just as Johnny and Sue rush to their father's side. Victor easily throws Reed aside, enters the gate, and activates it. Franklin is on the verge of death and demands his children protect each other. Johnny, enraged, bursts into flames and attempts to capture Victor, but the field surrounding the gate blocks him. As soon as Victor crosses to the other side, he overleads the system to create a runaway reaction. Reed warns the others that this will create a black hole, which will destroy the world. Victor creates a portal to pull everything in the world into this other dimension. As the Fantastic Four are pulled into the resulting gravity, Johnny bursts into flames again, and Sue creates a field that engulfs Reed and Ben. Seeing that the circular wave is destroying everything, Johnny pushes the others out of the vortex. They understand that the matter from Earth is being converted to energy and conclude that they need to stop Victor, as he is the source. Johnny declares he is his to take down and begins to fly, enveloped in flames. Sue and Ben follow him. When Victor sees them, he takes off with the boulder and surrounds Johnny with small rocks, extinguishing his fire. He then throws a large boulder at Ben, who runs towards him, and repeats what he did to Johnny with larger rocks to Ben. Trees, cars, and all other objects in the world fly into the portal, passing into the other dimension. Sue creates a shield around the energy portal, preventing the objects from being destroyed. Victor creates a storm of rocks to find Sue, who is invisible, and crushes her the moment he spots her. Reed goes to Victor and tells him to stop. Doom declares his name is no longer Victor and uses the energy waves he emits to control Reed's body. Seeing her attack, he turns to Sue this time. Reed looks around at Johnny and Ben and sees that they are just as cornered as he is. Doom shrinks Sue's shield even further and bids her farewell. At that moment, Reed, barely able to get to his feet, dodges the rocks Doom sends, jumps at him, grabs him with his flexible arms, and throws him down. Sue, Ben, and Johnny also escape their traps and go to Reed. They decide that Doom is stronger than any of them, so they must work as a team. Doom ascends with the boulder and tells Reed he won't stop. Ben throws a large boulder at him. Johnny and Sue join forces and manage to strike him with a piece of fire. Reed, with his flexible body, manages to dodge the stone fragments and strikes him, but Doom grabs his arms, pulls him in close, and grabs him by the neck. Reed gives the others the signal, and Ben, whom Sue made invisible, appears, calls clubbering time, and sends Doom into his own portal. As Doom ascends the portal, Johnny shatters the rocks holding the portal and drops it on Doom. His body shatters. Seeing that the gate is about to close, Sue creates her shield again to cover Reed and Ben, and Johnny flies with them. They all return to Earth at the last moment. They stand on the edge of the destruction and watch the havoc that has occurred. We later see the Fantastic Four talking to the officers and learn that even though the public is unaware of what's happened, the president is.
The Fantastic Four say they'll agree to work with the government, but they must have their own space. Johnny and the others head to their new location. They learn that this secret base has been active for 12 years, with no record of it anywhere, and is now under their control. While monitoring their new lab, they begin searching for a new name for both their new headquarters and their team. The story ends here.